Hey everyone, and welcome back to another news alert. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and thank you so much for tuning into Boyd News. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more updates like this. And feel free to support me on Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links are in the description below the video. All right, real quick before we jump into the news, I just want to give a huge shout out to one of our fellow viewers named Randy. Randy, thank you very much for supporting my work here on YouTube. He gave a generous donation to our channel over on our Buy Me a Coffee page. I just want to say thank you and I appreciate you. And to all of you out there watching my videos daily, thank you to this entire community we have built together. I'm grateful for each and every one of you, as Boyd News would not be here without your support. You guys are awesome human beings, so thank you so much. Okay, so on to the news. A lot going on today with this war between Russia and Ukraine. We will start with a huge story out of Russia's Tambov region, as it's just being reported that Ukraine blew up Russia's Druzhba oil pipeline once again, temporarily stopping oil flows into Europe. Here's a new report on your screen. It says Ukraine struck Russia's Druzhba oil pipeline for the fifth time this year. The Druzhba pipeline, one of the largest with a capacity of 2 million barrels per day, is a critical conduit for oil from Russian fields to European refineries. It remains a lifeline for Hungary and Slovakia. So if you guys remember, just in the last few months, we actually had Hungary and Slovakia pleading over to Ukraine to please stop the attacks on the Druzhba oil pipelines. I can't believe it's been 5 attacks on this pipeline already this year. It looks like even though Hungary is warning Ukraine and asking them to please stop these attacks, Ukraine is just completely sidelining Hungary and Slovakia, going directly after this Druzhba oil pipeline. As we know, that's bringing in a lot of critical revenue for the Russian economy. So Ukraine apparently just 2 days ago on December 1st blew it up. It was some sort of sabotage event where they planted some sort of incendiary devices or explosive devices directly onto the pipeline in the Tambov region, close to Russia's Moscow region, and completely blew it up again. I think Hungary was reporting today actually that the pipeline is back online. Can't completely confirm that, but I think that was Bloomberg News that was reporting that. So we'll talk more about this in just a minute. By the way, this is a picture of the Druzhba pipeline that allows oil flows directly into Europe, primarily supplying Slovakia and Hungary there on the bottom of your screen. So other top headline news: Ukraine attacked an oil depot also located in the Tambov region of Russia overnight with drones. A huge blaze can be seen in new video released today, with major damage being reported. We'll talk about that in just a moment. I also have some updates regarding the meeting between U.S. representatives in Moscow with Putin yesterday to discuss peace talks with Ukraine. I've got several updates on that. And then aside from that, NATO foreign ministers held a council meeting today. A lot of support packages have been announced for Ukraine. We will go over those details as well. So lots to cover with this war update. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. We're going to hop on over to X. We'll start off here with Bricktop NAFO. And it says Ukraine launched a massive wave of long-range UAV strike drones on Russian military positions, supply lines, oil production, and ammo depot facilities throughout the night. So you can see the date here was December 2nd, 7:33 p.m. So this coming out yesterday evening with this massive attack onto Russia. And, I was actually expecting to hear about more oil refineries being hit or something like that. We did have, obviously, a report about an oil depot being hit, but I was expecting a lot of refineries to be smashed, especially the Volgograd refinery, which is right in the direction of where a lot of these drones are going. So yeah, the only main reports we really have is coming out from the Tambov region. We have right here, right next to the Ryazan Oblast, and here's Moscow over here. It's a little bit south east. On the western side of the Tambov region, we have these two reports. So obviously the Druzhba oil pipeline being attacked just a couple days ago on December 1st. That happened here on the western side, right near the border of the Lipetsk and Tambov regions. Then we also have the strike that was carried out last night into the Tambov region as well on this oil depot. So we'll be talking about those today. Aside from that, no real reports of any strikes on anything else really inside of Russia, which is very interesting. If you look at this map, a pretty massive attack even down here towards the southwestern regions of Russia. So moving on now to next, friendship is over. The Druzhba oil pipeline to Europe has been blown up again in Russia. The time of the strike hit, a strike hit a section near the village of Kazinsky, Vilseki, if I'm saying that right, on the Taganrog and Lipetsk line. Damage to one of Russia's key oil arteries shows just how vulnerable its energy infrastructure remains. So I've got a quick clip. It's only 7 seconds, but you're going to see somebody recording the actual event when it took place, when they blew up this Druzhba oil pipeline with some sort of explosives. Take a look. Okay, so what was being reported on mainstream news out of Ukraine today was actually some sort of incendiary explosives that were being used to cause more damage, considering this is an oil pipeline. From what we understand, this pipeline has been struck. It obviously was shut down for some time, but again, today Hungary is reporting that the oil flows are still coming through as normal. So very interesting. Guess we'll wait for more details on that. Just today, all we really got is just this short video showing the destruction of this oil pipeline. But nonetheless, huge hit to Russia and their economy. Here's another report now from Bliskovka. Defense forces attacked the Dmitrievskaya oil depot in the Tambov region at night, which supplied the Russian army. General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reports. Also hit was an observation post on the MSP-4 platform in the Black Sea. A radar in the Savash drilling rig and 3 Orion UAVs were destroyed during a strike on the Saki airfield. Okay, these are all going to be down near Crimea in the Black Sea. So we had an oil platform coming under attack. We know the Russians used several oil platforms down there as like radar stations. We had a radar on a drilling rig that came under attack, and then 3 Orion UAVs were apparently destroyed during an attack on the Saki airfield. We've been seeing Ukraine attacking that airfield down there in Crimea a lot recently. So here's a picture coming out. This is actually of the oil depot in the Tambov region as it caught on fire and bursted into flames after being attacked. And I do have numerous updates on this today. Here's one. This one's from Ozen Technical. It says governor of the Tambov Oblast. Okay, so we've got Evgeny Pervyshov, the governor of the Tambov region, and he says on the night of December 3rd, a fire broke out at an oil depot in the Tambov region after debris from a Kyiv regime terrorist drone crashed. Fire crews and law enforcement officials quickly arrived at the scene. All necessary resources have been deployed. So imagine attacking a nearby nation and then considering them terrorists when they attack you back. I really don't understand that level of thinking, but you guys can let me know what you think. It's interesting whenever they comment on Ukraine's attacks and they call them terrorists when at the same time Russia's the the entity that attacked Ukraine. So I thought that was very interesting. But that was a statement coming out from the governor today. Now for Tendar, Russian oil depot in the Tambov region was struck and shot ablaze last night. See, unfortunately, this is one of the only videos coming out. It's only 2 seconds long, but showing somebody recording this over a rooftop. Huge blaze coming from the facility, and we have some information today. Multiple of these storage tanks were destroyed, as we can see here. Huge fire. That's typically what we see at these oil depots when the fire continues burning like that. So here's those details now from Astra. 3 tanks with diesel fuel burned down as a result of an attack on the oil depot of JSC Tambov Neft product, now Voronezh Neft product, in the Tambov region last night. On the night of December 3rd, residents of the Tambov region reported explosions. Later, the governor confirmed a fire at an oil depot and a result of an attack by Ukrainian UAVs. Astra analyzed the footage of eyewitnesses from the scene of the fire and came to the conclusion that the Nikiforovskaya, if I'm saying that right, oil depot of JFC Tambov Neft product, located on 1 Sportive Naya Street, Dmitrievka, damn, it's kind of hard to say these, sorry guys, Tambov region, caught fire. The picture was taken from the same street. It is about 100 to 150 meters from the houses to the burning tank. All right, so here's somebody that was recording this. There's that picture that we had for you guys from Ukraine's general staff when they confirmed this strike. And allegedly, we had 3 of these storage tanks that were holding diesel fuel that apparently burned down to the ground. And I would not be surprised if the 4th one gets destroyed as well, considering they're all right next to each other. So that's apparently what was struck over here, was some fuel storage tanks at this oil depot. So huge news today. Probably get more details on that later. So now let's move on to talking about this meeting between the U.S. delegation and Russian officials, right? We know Putin was there talking to Steve Witkoff yesterday, the special envoy for the Trump administration, along with Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law. He was there as well. So let's go over these details. This is going to be a story from Politico, and it says Kushner and Witkoff spontaneously entered Putin's war game. Putin used a mix of charm, calculated delays, and overt threats to show the American envoys Russia's position on peace with Ukraine, the outlet writes. Witkoff and Kushner enjoyed a walk around Moscow and a lunch at an elite restaurant on Tuesday. The Russian president made them wait several hours before the meeting in the Kremlin. While the Americans killed time, Putin spoke to the press at an investment forum, accusing Europe of derailing the peace process and hinting at future escalation. As expected by those familiar with Putin's habit of keeping foreign guests waiting, Tuesday talks began almost 3 hours later than the time announced by his press secretary at 5 p.m., so they didn't start till like 8. He made Witkoff and Kushner wait 3 hours before actually meeting with them. In video released by the Kremlin, Putin greets Witkoff and Kushner and asks if they like Moscow. Witkoff replies, "It's a wonderful city." The meeting ended after midnight local time. In a post on X, Putin's foreign policy advisor Dmitriev, who attended the talks, called the meeting productive. Putin's aide Ushakov, also present, described the conversation as useful, constructive, and very substantive, but added that a lot of work lies ahead. Putin pointed to destructive actions by the European side. This may mean he will try to blame any failure of peace talks on the EU, which was conspicuously excluded from the meeting. In the days leading up to the Moscow talks, Putin showed no signs of backing down from his demand from Ukraine's de facto capitulation, condemning Zelensky as an illegitimate leader with whom he supposedly cannot reach a deal. In fact, neither the talks in Istanbul nor the August summit in Alaska between Trump and Putin nor Witkoff's 5 previous visits to Moscow have led to any softening of the Kremlin's position or belligerent rhetoric. Okay, so basically what we're hearing coming out from this meeting, obviously, Putin made Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner wait several hours before meeting with him. We've seen this in the past. This is a typical strategy that the Russians use. They delay the talks, and then apparently they spoke for about 4 or 5 hours and came to nothing. There was no breakthrough in the talks. Russia has not signed any deal, and they're actually coming out saying today they have not rejected it, apparently, but in some ways they have, obviously, right? They're not agreeing to anything, so we're not seeing any movement in this peace process today. Here's some more information. Military News UA. Moscow has received 4 additional documents besides the original Trump plan for settling the situation in Ukraine, which consisted of 28 points. Putin's aide Ushakov reported his other key points. A lot of work still lies ahead. Russia and the U.S. agreed not to disclose the substance of the negotiations. The meeting made it possible to discuss ways to further settlement of the Ukrainian crisis. They discussed the essence of the U.S. plan for settlement rather than specific proposals. They discussed prospects for achieving a long-term peaceful settlement in Ukraine. The parties expressed readiness to continue joint work toward achieving a settlement. Representatives of the U.S. president conveyed greetings and best wishes from Trump to Putin. The possibility of a Putin-Trump meeting will depend on the progress achieved on the path to the settlement. So a lot of very similar statements coming out from Yuri Ushakov here, Putin's aide. So what we're hearing from him as well is that obviously no concrete movement has been made here on this peace proposal. Russia obviously has not signed anything. It looks to me like they're still stalling. I mean, Ukraine is on the verge of signing this. I think they've got a few things to work out with the United States, but we're not anywhere close to seeing Russia and Ukraine as signing a peace deal together. I think we're still very far out from that, and I think most people probably expected this to have the same outcome. Now from next, the meeting between Witkoff, Kushner, and Zelensky in Brussels did not take place. According to a Euronews journalist, the meeting planned in Brussels was canceled. Sources confirmed the talks will not go ahead. Zelensky is returning home. Meanwhile, the Kremlin claims that after the meeting with Putin, Witkoff and Kushner promised to head directly to Washington. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So apparently, Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner were supposed to meet with Zelensky in Brussels within like 24 hours after meeting in Moscow. Apparently that was canceled. They went directly, I think, over to Canada or to the United States for some other meetings and completely skipped and sidelined Zelensky. I'm not sure exactly why, but apparently the Kremlin is claiming that they promised to go directly to Washington and not meet with Zelensky. So I thought that was interesting. Let me know if you think that's a signal on anything. Now, Bliskovka, Putin did not reject the U.S. peace plan. The quieter the negotiations are, the better the results will be, Kremlin spokesman Peskov says. So Dmitry Peskov stating that Russia did not reject this peace plan. Okay, they're still open to it, but they want the negotiations to keep quiet and not have a lot of details leaked out. You know what? We're kind of seeing that. We're not seeing a whole lot of details on this. We got a little bit of information from Yuri Ushakov, but aside from that, really no details coming out from these meetings today. Now, Kiev Post, Financial Times journalist Miller has highlighted the stark contrast in Witkoff's behavior and appearance during his meetings with Ukrainian officials versus his encounter with Putin. When Witkoff sat across from the Ukrainian delegation in Miami, he appeared unshaven, disheveled, tired, avoiding eye contact, and not smiling. But in Moscow, seated opposite from Putin, Witkoff looked entirely different, clean shaven, attentive, smiling, and joking. He even praised his time in the Russian capital, saying he had enjoyed a great walk and calling Moscow a wonderful city. Is this just a coincidence or a signal? This is something to note and talk about as well. Yeah, when we had Steve Witkoff here, this is when he met with the Ukrainian delegation. You can see he's not clean shaven here. When he met with Putin, this is what he looked like. Okay, clean shaven, much more energy. Right here, he almost looks tired. I did see a video also when he was sitting across from the Ukrainian delegation. He was kind of sitting far away too. He wasn't even really close to the table, like Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, was, and it seemed like Rubio was kind of conducting the talks there, and Witkoff was more on the side compared to what we had in Moscow. It seemed like Steve Witkoff was the main head of the U.S. delegation there. But I thought it was interesting the fact that he was sitting so far away from the table, didn't really appear to be involved in the talks much, just kind of just sitting there and didn't really care to be there. But he appeared to be very happy to see Vladimir Putin. We've been hearing a lot of this that, could he be a Russian agent? Is he somebody on the inside that's helping out the Russians? We've heard about him sabotaging, for example, with this peace deal, or, sabotaging the Tomahawk missiles over to Ukraine. So definitely very interesting. Something to note here with Steve Witkoff. Let me know what you think about him today. Now, Vice Grad 24, Macron arrived in China for a state visit. His discussions with Xi will also address the war in Ukraine to discuss potential ceasefire terms. Paris expects Beijing to refrain from providing Russia with any means to continue the war. So this is going to be Emmanuel Macron, the French president, along with his wife. This was them arriving off the plane in China to meet with Xi Jinping, and apparently he's going to put pressure onto Xi Jinping to try to influence Russia to end this war and sign a peace settlement. We'll wait for more details on that. We don't have anything just yet. So now, military news UA, Norway will allocate an additional $500 million for the purchase of American weapons for Ukraine. Foreign Minister Espen Barth Eid reported today. Okay, so Norway coming out $500 million to help out Ukraine with a support package. So again, I got multiple of these coming out in support for Ukraine today, as we had the NATO foreign ministers meeting, the council meeting today. So $500 million coming from Norway. Here's another one from Knoll Reports. Germany will provide an additional $200 million in U.S.-made weapons for Ukraine through two packages under the PURL mechanism. Berlin will also contribute 25 million euros to NATO's comprehensive assistance package to supply Ukrainian troops with winter gear and medical support. Okay, so great news coming out from Germany here, supplying 200 million for weapons directly through the U.S. to supply to Ukraine, and then on top of that, 25 million euros to help Ukraine out with winter gear and medical support. So awesome news coming out from there. Here's another one, War News PL. Poland, together with Germany, declares a support package under PURL for Ukraine in the amount of $500 million. Okay, so I believe they're putting up somewhere around 200 or 300 million here, as obviously Germany put up 200 million. So I think it's 300 million coming from Poland being announced today. They're also supporting Ukraine, so that's huge. And then one more from Military News UA. Canada will allocate another $200 million for the purchase of American weapons for Ukraine, Foreign Minister Anand reported. So Canada coming out big today, $200 million. And then I believe the last one was going to be the Netherlands. I wasn't able to find a report on that. I think they put up several hundred million also for Ukraine today. I think it was a total of about 1.1 billion from all these different 4 or 5 nations here that we talked about supporting Ukraine at the NATO foreign ministers meeting. Now, next, 2 FSB officers injured in drone strikes on Chechnya. 2 officers of the Russia Security Service were injured in Chechnya after Ukrainian drones struck an FSB building in the Akkoy, if I'm saying that right, Akkoy Martan district. The UAVs hit the facility at night, marking the second such incident in recent weeks. There's a picture coming out from this building that came under attack yesterday morning. We talked about this in Chechnya. This is going to be a base for Russia's FSB, their security service, and also the Akhmat regiment that fights inside of Ukraine. If you guys know about the Kadarovites, this is one of their major bases here, and it came under attack by a Ukrainian drone, caught fire, and we heard that it basically burned down, as we can see, completely destroyed, heavy damage done to this building, and new update today, 2 FSB officers have been injured during these drone attacks. Now, Vicegrad 24, the Turkish company whose tanker was damaged off the coast of Senegal, has announced it will stop working with Russia. Besiktas, sorry guys, having trouble pronouncing these names today. Shipping said it will no longer conduct shipping operations connected to Russia, citing a significant deterioration in security in the region. On the night of November 28th, 4 explosions occurred on the company's tanker Mersin, which was carrying petroleum products, causing the vessel to start leaking. The cause of the explosion has not been determined, but one version suggests the Mersin may have been attacked. Yeah, lots of reports that Ukraine attacked this ship off the coast of Senegal in West Africa. I believe it was carrying Russian oil at the time, and it came under attack, took like 4 explosions, and reportedly this was Ukraine attacking it, as just a day or two before that, we had 2 other oil tankers being attacked by naval drones in the Black Sea. So apparently this company is coming out and saying they're not going to be working with Russia right now due to these attacks, as they don't want to risk more of their ships being destroyed. And I think that's a smart move, because we know Ukraine is probably going to be targeting more of these ships. And also Vladimir Putin came out yesterday saying they were going to be retaliating onto Ukraine and striking their ports and some of their ships. So it looks like we're now going to see more attacks on naval assets from both sides. Now, Max 25, NATO said that Putin will not be able to seize the Donbass until the end of 2026, a high-ranking NATO official told the BBC. NATO believes that despite the growing financial burden, Russia is capable of continuing hostilities in the current regime until 2027. At the same time, the Russian army is suffering heavy losses on the battlefield. About 1,100 soldiers are killed per day, and the total number of killed and wounded is currently approaching 1.15 million servicemen. Okay, so I believe instead of killed per day, it should be more like casualties, because we know that somewhere around 1,000, 1,200 or so soldiers are taken out each day, usually wounded or killed. So yeah, crazy update here. They're reporting from a NATO official that apparently Russia will be able to seize the Donbass, but it's going to take them until the end of next year. Okay, so could we see a settlement before then? We know that Ukraine is trying to hold on to the Donbass. They are losing some territory over there. I keep hearing more reports coming out today that Russia's on the verge of taking Pokrovsk. Even though Vladimir Putin already reported that they control it, Ukraine's saying that's not true. They're still fighting over there. So crazy update coming out from the BBC today. Let me know what you think on that. Do you think Russia will seize the Donbass by the end of next year? Now, Bliskovka, the general staff, denies Bild's information about the complete capture of Pokrovsk. Spokesperson for the general staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, Major Andriy Kovalyov, reported that the Ukrainian military is continuing the defensive operation in Pokrovsk. The defense forces are holding the northern part of the city approximately along the railway line. Okay, so yeah, what we're hearing is Bild magazine out of Germany was reporting today that Russia has entire control of the city of Pokrovsk, a major transport rail hub city down here right next to Murderad. So it has been reported the Russians are moving in. Ukraine's been counterattacking in this area, but it's not looking good. We hear more every day that Russia's on the verge of capturing the city. They've even put up some pictures showing that they've captured the city in certain areas, like near the town hall, I believe. So not good to hear about this, but apparently Ukraine is refuting that claim, saying they're still fighting over here and has not completely fallen yet to the Russians. Here's a video now from St. Javelin, a Russian Fab 3000. This is a glide bomb. A 3-ton bomb was used against the Ukrainian city of Murderad. A bomb designed to level everything around it was used on a civilian area. Yeah, check this out, guys. Crazy video. Fab 3000, excuse me, being dropped over here. This is a 3,000 kilogram glide bomb that was dropped here on Murderad, completely leveling some of these buildings over here. Yeah, not good to see this. We know a lot of glide bombs are dropped on the eastern side of Ukraine, and this is right next to Bakrovsk, okay, a critical area that Ukraine's trying to hold on to. It's going to be very hard for them to hold on to this when these kind of munitions are being dropped directly onto the city. Very scary video coming out from there. Now, Vicegrad 24, the European Commission has sent legal proposals to EU countries on confiscating Russian assets. The plan includes seizing all 210 billion euros of Russian assets currently frozen in Europe, Politico reports. Earlier, Belgium rejected the EU plan to use frozen Russian assets to back a loan for Ukraine. Belgian foreign minister stated it does not sufficiently meet our requirements just hours before the commission published a draft law allowing up to 210 billion euros of these funds to be used. Okay, so the EU is moving forward with this plan, guys. They're really trying to allocate these funds for Ukraine. These are frozen Russian assets sitting in banks in Europe. I think there's approximately about 240 billion in Europe alone. They want to try to get all of that and hand it over to Ukraine. I guess they're talking about seizing all of the 210 billion of assets in Europe. Okay, and we were hearing that they wanted to hand over about 140 billion over to Ukraine, but maybe that number is going to be extended. Could be as high as 210 if they're able to get all of it. And there's a lot of pushback from Brussels right now. Belgium is not happy about the EU trying to tap into these funds. Here's one more report. NOAA reports Belgium is pushing back hard against EU plans to use frozen Russian assets for Ukraine, warning it could bankrupt the country. Foreign Minister Prévost says handing over 185 billion euros held at Euroclear without solid guarantees exposes Belgium to huge risk. Our concerns are legitimate, but we're not being heard, Prime Minister De Wever added. Okay, so he's concerned that apparently he could bankrupt Belgium if they decide to tap into these funds. So we can see that Belgium pushing back really hard here, trying to stop the EU from tapping into these funds. They were blocking it a lot recently. That's why we're seeing such a big delay. And I keep hearing as soon as maybe December 18th or the 19th, we could see a decision on this, on Europe tapping into these funds. So by the end of the year, it's very possible Ukraine could be receiving over 100 billion or more of these frozen Russian assets on euros, obviously, to help out Ukraine and support them in the next coming years in this fight against Russia if this war continues. Now, from next up, Romania's defense ministry blew up a Ukrainian Sea Baby naval drone that it said was threatening navigation in the Black Sea. The ministry reported that military divers neutralized the drone, which Ukraine had used in operations against Russian vessels. At the same time, Romania did not shoot down Russian drones that violated its airspace, instead waiting for them to return to Ukraine. Isn't that something interesting? So, Romanian divers went ahead and blew up a Ukrainian naval drone. I'm not sure if it was disabled or something happened to it, but it was sitting out in the Black Sea, and Romania blew it up, as they said it was a threat to maritime navigation over there. So isn't that interesting that they went ahead and destroyed this thing? But when drones come into their nation and then eventually fly back into Ukraine, they don't shoot them down to help out the Ukrainians, but they'll destroy Ukraine's drones that are sitting out here in the Black Sea. So I thought that was an interesting story today. Let me know what you think about that one. Now, Max 25, Ukrainian air defense shot down or destroyed 83 out of 111 drones. So back up to over 100 drones being fired into Ukraine nightly. I think yesterday it was down to about 62, but in this case today, 111. 83 of those being destroyed out of 111. Pretty good numbers coming out from Ukraine overnight. Now the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of December 3rd, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. In our final update, Russia's losses as of December 3rd, 1,200 troops, 3 AFVs, 47 vehicles and field tanks, 6 tanks, 12 artillery systems, 90 UAVs, and 1 special equipment. Okay, so we're still seeing some pretty low numbers here. 1 special equipment, no anti-aircraft warfare system, no MLRS being destroyed, only 12 artillery systems. I wonder why we're only seeing less than 15 per day lately. At some point, we were seeing 30 or 40. I wonder if it's because the Russians don't have too many left, considering so many have been destroyed in the past. 6 tanks and 3 AFVs. Tanks up a little bit today. We usually see less than 5, more around 2 or even 1 in a lot of cases here. 47 vehicles and fuel tanks. We've been seeing right about 50 on average here for weeks now, which is very low. We usually see this number upwards of like 150 or more. And then troop losses up a little bit today. I think it was at 1190 yesterday, 1200 today. Typically seen about 900 to 1,000 on average there. So, guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in for today's update on December 3rd, 2025. And I hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday out there. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let me know what you think about all these details down below in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.